Oh my gosh. I'm literally recording this and I went on Twitter and the first thing I see is that there's a potential disqualification for George Russell. Um, I might have to come back to this. Holy crap. You know what's so crazy? I was literally sitting there after the race and I was like, I had a thought and I was like, could he get disqualified? There's just something in my spirit telling me that there might be a potential George Russell disqualification. I'm not even kidding. Look at this tweet from Autosport from 4 minutes ago. Excuse the noise. I'm in the basement, so sorry. Are you joking? No, like you guys actually don't understand. Like, what? I'm sitting here and I was like, ugh. I never do a race weekend recap. Also, I'm sitting here and I was like, I want to talk about this race because summer break is coming up, so might as well. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, should I just continue recording? Should I wait? This feels like it could be a slam dunk disqualification because we know what happened in Coda last year with Lewis and Charles. If it's not, I have questions. I do. I don't even know where to begin right now. And I don't know how long it's going to take. Hold on, let me read everything. After the race, car number 63 was weighed and its weight was 798 kilograms, which is the minimum weight required by TR Article 4.1. After this, fuel was drained out of the car and 2.8 liters of fuel were removed. The car was not fully drained according to the draining procedure submitted by the team in their legality documents, as TR Article 6.52 is fulfilled. The car was weighed again on the FIA inside and outside scales by the weight, and the weight was 796.5 kilograms. The calibration of the outside and inside scales was confirmed and witnessed by the competitor. As this is 1.5 kg below the minimum weight requested in the TR Article 4.1, which also has to be respected at all times during the competition, I'm referring this matter to the stewards for their consideration. So, side note, I woke up. I had 4 hours of sleep. I went to bed at 5, woke up at 8:50 so I could watch this race because I had some sort of feeling about this race. And now, thank gosh it's only 12 p.m. right now because that means I have a whole day ahead of me and I don't have to worry about it being late. Because last time it took so long, I was so depressed and Lewis Hamilton got disqualified in Coda. I was like, was it Coda? I was like, this is the worst thing. I literally went upstairs to my siblings and I just laid on the couch and I was like, this is the worst. I don't know what's going on. Hey guys, hi everyone. My name is Fatima and welcome to the Race Edit. And if you are a returning viewer, welcome back to the Race Edit. Thank you so much for being here. You guys know, for the people who've watched my videos before, you guys know I don't really do a race weekend recap. I like to yap during my unserious predictions, but a race weekend recap, not all the time. But today I was like, I want to do it because we have summer break coming up and I actually really did want to talk about today's race, and I have like notes in my points, and here go the stewards and George Russell completely throwing me in for a loop and I don't know what's going on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the Mercedes last because I don't know what's going to happen, and I might even record it later on in the day, so if you see an outfit change, I apologize. But I might not. We'll see what happens. So I really want to talk about today's race. I just want to have a quick yap session. You guys know I love a good yap. I love to talk about the race in a very lighthearted, unserious way because, that's just how I do things here. So let me pull out my notes and let's get right into the Belgian Grand Prix. Right now, as of 12:10 my time, the race results are George Russell P1, Lewis Hamilton P2, Oscar Piastri P3, Charles Leclerc P4, Max Verstappen P5, Lando Norris P6, Carlos Sainz P7, Sergio Perez P8, Fernando Alonso P10 and Fernando Alonso P9 and Esteban Ocon P10. So let's get into the big major talking points of this season so far, which is Max v Lando. I don't think it's that big of a conversation to have. I'm not going to lie. Max Verstappen, he did what he needed to do in qualifying yesterday, which was get P1 because he had that 10th place grid penalty. So it brought him down to P11, as we know for today's race. Now, I have a problem with everyone yesterday, because after qualifying, everyone was just like, there was not even a lick, even a single conversation about the Mercedes even having a chance in today's race. I was sitting here watching F1 TV like, hello? Hello? We could have a chance, and not one person had any faith in Mercedes. They were all like, oh, this is Red Bull or McLaren's race to win. And lo and behold, at the end of the race, we had a Mercedes 1-2, which might be rectified. We'll see. But I didn't say anything. I was like, I just feel like Mercedes is gonna pull something out of the bag today. And I was like, okay, all right. And then here comes Lewis Hamilton getting ahead of Perez, and then a few laps later, getting ahead of, not even a few laps, barely a few laps later, getting ahead of Charles. So it just goes to show that right now in this current season, anything can happen. Anything can happen. But back to Max and Lando. It was an interesting race for those two because they were kind of nowhere. I do have to give Max his dues. He went from P11 to what, P5? We knew he was going to be back in the game this race, but it was just, I was expecting a little bit more. I have another question. It's not a question. It's just, they kept hyping up the overtakes that we would get in Spa this weekend. And while we did get some overtakes, the DRS train was DRS training. Like, cars were having a difficult time most of the race actually to overtake one another. Like when we had the overtakes after the first pit stop sequence, when everyone was overtaking everyone, I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. And then I don't know what happened. It was the DRS, and it was actually quite hard to overtake. I mean, we saw it with Max and Lando. They weren't able to make their dues, and they are the championship contenders. Well, Max is the championship contender. Right now, Max is at 275 points in the standings, and Lando is at 197 points. So it's a 78 point advantage for Max, and I just don't know if Lando is going to be able to get up there. Right now we have Mercedes drivers who have won a race 3 times. Even if George gets disqualified today and they bump Lewis up, that's still 3 wins for Mercedes. That's 2 wins for McLaren, 2 wins for Ferrari. And Max still has, right now, most of the wins to carry him through. And all he needed to do was really get ahead of Lando today, which he did, Lando had a really bad start. Lando has had bad starts in the most recent races. So his starts have not been too good for him. And today it really showed, because how can Max start from P11 and then still finish ahead of you when Lando, because of Max's 10th place grid penalty yesterday, started P4 and he finished behind Max, and he also finished lower than what he qualified as in P5 or P6 in P5. Then we have Charles Leclerc. Then we have Charles Leclerc on pole position, ended up finishing P4. It could have been a P3 had George Russell just not done that one tire strategy. Sorry, I'm so distracted, you guys. Like, it's only been 5 minutes and I'm still checking my phone. Right now, at this current moment, anything can happen. He could get disqualified. Everyone's saying it's a slam dunk disqualification, but then I just feel like George is the kind of guy where just things just happen to him, and that's no tea, no shade to him. What I will say is this race was so interesting to me because honestly, it wasn't the best race of the season, and it was kind of boring. I feel like the story of the season so far is like, aside from the few anomalies like Canada and Canada and Hungary and Silverstone, I feel like a lot of the races where it's like, okay, goes, and then that's typically how it is. So the last like 15 to 10 laps is when it's like, go time, figure it out. And like, man, had George not done the one tire strategy, it would have been kind of like a race, because everyone was just like, can he do it? Can he do it? And lo and behold, he did do it. And I will give him that. Did it hurt? Did it hurt to see? Yes. Will I say he did defend and he kept the lead, which was what frustrated me about this was like, Lewis did everything right. He did everything right. He was kind of damned if he did, damned if he didn't, in the sense that he had to pit the second time, even though the tires felt good, but it was more of like a, okay, well, if Oscar is going to pit and if Charles is going to pit, they could potentially have an advantage over him. And we saw how fast Oscar was going towards the end of the race. He could have. And then George was kind of in the situation where it was like he just kind of ended up in third, and then the two guys ahead of him went into the pits, and then he ended up P1, and he was like, well, if I'm already here, I might as well extend. And he did choose to extend a couple of laps prior, but he just happens to be at the right place at the right time, and it just worked out for him. Potentially, because I don't know what's going on right now. And I think that's kind of what frustrates me. It's like, but that's Formula One, I guess, right? My second issue is, if it wasn't Lewis Hamilton, the conversation, it just feels like it would always be different, in the sense that if it was any other driver, their fans would be upset at the situation. If it was George in reverse to Lewis, his fans would be upset at the situation. If it was Max in reverse to Checo, who we'll talk about in another video, it would be Max's Red Bull wouldn't even let that happen, first of all, but his fans would also be upset. So it just feels like there is a double standard. We know there's a double standard, and it is upsetting, but we move. One thing about me is, like I said early on, is I will never doubt Lewis Hamilton. I know he'll always make a comeback, and the way after that Silverstone win, something happened, and I have faith in him. I do. I see him winning at least, if not one, at least two more races, maybe even three. Who knows? I do, because unless Red Bull's able to do something magical in the summertime for their car and McLaren is able to, yeah, it'll be interesting. I also think we could see another Oscar Piastri win. I'm having a yap session. This is not even a race weekend recap. I'm just having a yap session because I'm like in the pits of my stomach trying to figure out what's going on. This is why I didn't want to do my race weekend, my recap right after the race, because I knew there's always something that comes out after, like a couple hours after the race. So I was like, maybe I should wait until later. But then I was also like, this is right now for me, it's a perfect time to record. Anyway, I didn't really articulate exactly how I was feeling about the race because of this potential disqualification news. I just wish the double standards weren't there. We knew those hard tires on the Merc were good this race. We knew that for a fact because we saw how long George held up. And Lewis did keep saying the tires were good. So I understand why they pit. I get it. But it just left a sour taste in my mouth. And you can't say, as a fan of your driver, if that was your driver, it wouldn't have left a sour taste in your mouth, because it would have. Just because it's Lewis Hamilton doesn't take it away. You know what I mean? I'm just saying what I'm seeing. You can choose to agree or disagree. This was just an interesting one, but for me personally, I kind of knew Lewis wasn't going to win the race the minute once George was holding out on the hards, and then Merc was like they were free to fight. I was like, oh yeah, they're not gonna let Lewis Hamilton get ahead of George. I saw that coming. It was right there, you guys. Come on. And that's not a conspiracy theory. It was just, he was favored. He was favored. And hey, it is what it is. We move. I really want to talk about Checo, but I'm uploading a video this coming week on him, so I'm gonna keep it at a minimum. Yeah, it's not looking good for him. It's not, and now it's really up to Red Bull to figure out what they're going to do next. I just don't understand the logic in re-signing him with those exit clauses as well. Like, just let it go just let it go. But yeah, but that video on Checo will be coming out by the end of this week. And right now, we just bide our time and we wait, I guess, to see what's going to happen with George. Also, shout out to Ocon, P10. I love that for him. Okay, so the latest update in this is that Hamilton's car passed the weight checks after the race. So, I don't know what's going on, boys. I just don't know. Mercedes is in a pickle, you guys. Should he have just pit? That's the question. Should George have just done that second pit? Would that put him in a different predicament than he is now? Because if he's disqualified, that's no points then, versus having a few points, you know? So now they're in a serious predicament where I literally just ran down here. Look at the timestamp. Don't even like play with me right now, you guys. 1 minute ago. It's been confirmed that George Russell has been disqualified from the Belgian Grand Prix for an underweight car. Lewis Hamilton is now the race winner ahead of Charles Leclerc in second and Oscar Piastri in third. Guys, this was what the result was supposed to be. Like I said, should George have just pitted? Should he have just pitted? And oh my gosh. I literally flew down here. I was like refreshing and refreshing and refreshing and refreshing. During the hearing, the team representative confirmed that the measurement is correct and that all required procedures were performed correctly. The team also acknowledged that there was no mitigating circumstances and that it was a genuine error by the team. Mercedes, get it together. You know what's so funny? Once they were whispering tire whisperer, I was like, this is going to come and bite them in the butt. This is going to come and bite them in the butt. And I thought it was going to bite them in the butt later on in the season. I think it was going to bite them in the butt right after the race. Oh my goodness. Stewards, having received a report from the technical delegate, summoned and heard from the team representative, the FIA technical delegate, the FIA single-seater director, and the FIA single-seater technical director have considered the following matter and determined the following. Number 63, George Russell, Mercedes-AMG Petronas F1 team, 570, weight of car 63 was below the maximum weight required. Breach of Article 4.1 of the FIA Formula 1 technical regulations. Car 63 is disqualified from the race classification. All other drivers move up in the classification. Reason: the stewards heard from the team representative of Car 63, the FIA technical delegate, the FIA single-seater director, and the FIA seater technical director. Car 63 was weighed on the FIA inside and outside scales, with both scales showing the same result of 796.5 kg. The calibration of both scales was confirmed and witnessed by the competitor. During the hearing, the team representative confirmed that the measurement is correct and that all required procedures were performed correctly. I just read this. The team also acknowledged that there was no mitigating circumstances, that it was genuine error by the team. The stewards determined that Article 4.1 of the FIA Formula 1 technical regulations has been breached, and therefore the standard penalty for such an infringement needs to be applied. Competitors are reminded that they have the right to appeal certain decisions of the stewards, so we'll see. I don't think Mercedes is going to appeal that. You know them. In accordance with Article 15 of the FIA International Sporting Code and Chapter 4 of the FIA Judicial Disciplinary Rules within the applicable time limits. So like I said, this was the top three that was supposed to be the top three. Yeah, George took that chance and it worked out, but he was also underweight. So, you know, Lewis already left, by the way. That's the funny part. He was like, it is what it is. Y'all can call me with my race win or not. Taking me out is like, we knew that the top three for the race finish was meant to be Lewis P1, Oscar or Charles P2, and then Oscar or Charles P3. That was the result. It was between, we knew who P1 was going to be. We knew P2 was P2 and P3, you know, and it just didn't, that race win just didn't sit right in my spirit. This is the most insane yap. Of all the races for me to choose to do a race recap on, it just had to be this one. Okay. Maybe I should do this all the time. Anyway, I am on the road to 500. I'm so sorry that this video was all over the place, but if you did like this video, please feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit here and watch this video. I appreciate it, and like I said, see you all in the next one. Have a wonderful day.